are creepy, dealing with intentionally subjective accusations by MentisWave channel. Yeah, let's watch it.
Hey internets, this is just going to be a quick rant about the problem with the word creepy and how it gets misused to kind of ruin not just the dating scene, but in-person face-to-face interactions in general. And how the problem of this word shows why modern society needs to start normalizing the assumption that non-specific, ambiguous accusations are probably nonsense until proven otherwise. Or at the very least, the default position should be to not take them seriously. This is a topic I was going to originally include in my video on the male loneliness crisis, and while it is definitely related to that, I realized it'd be better off just as its own standalone video. Also, I don't do sponsors for my short videos, but I occasionally put something on my merch store on sale, and in this case, the Retro Gamers merch is still on sale. It's one of my better designs in my opinion, and all profits do directly help me towards making my content. So that'll be in the description below, or you can use this QR code. Thanks very much for your support. Anyway.
Oh my god, I'm a hermit. It doesn't matter if I'm creepy, no one sees me anyway. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? The sense like, how will not see you? You're a type right here. People answer you. I'm answering you. Like, oh, okay, we don't see you like IRL. That's impossible, but yeah.
The basic issue comes down to what specifically creepiness is. Its definition is that it's causing an unpleasant feeling of fear or unease. And while there's nothing wrong with that on its face, and there are legitimate uses of the word creepy, the issue here is that it is a subjective concept. Anybody can claim that they feel unease from somebody or something, and it's ultimately unfalsifiable. You can legitimately just walk up to someone, point at them, and say,
oh my god, it was classified by the AI as gibberish.
You are creepy, and there is absolutely nothing they can do to prove that their presence or something about them somehow is causing you to have an attack of the feels. And in many ways, it's the same fallacy of people who just claim to be offended and then get flabbergasted when the people around them don't take them seriously. It all comes from a standpoint of a very entitled and very hypocritical mindset, where one expects people around them to take their feelings seriously, but not the feelings of others. Specifically, not the feelings of the person they're accusing, which ordinarily wouldn't really be that big of a problem so long as people didn't take it seriously. And of course, the issue here is that people do take this seriously.
Dober Lux taking, Primata made the left cringe. No. How can it make left cringe when left was always cringe to begin with? Huh? You cannot make something cringe if that thing was already cringe. Gibberish, I never. Robert labeled you gibberish, Robert. Boomer standing outside in sunlight for 10 minutes is really good for your health. Get your vitamin D supplements. Yeah, it's shit. What? It's shit. What? This shit took me, like 12 hours? Yeah, this shit took me 12 hours. Is what's it?
Which is kind of weird because a lot of people, at least most people it seems, have learned not to take the whole "I'm offended" seriously. But people still fall for it when it's reworded as an accusation of being creepy, even though the reasoning behind it is essentially the exact same subjectivist nonsense, especially in the dating scene. And so a very common thing that happens is that a woman will just kind of accuse a man of being creepy, and everybody in the room just kind of immediately sympathizes with her and assumes that he must have done something wrong, even if she hasn't actually specified anything. So it can very quickly spiral into this Kafka-esque social interaction where someone finds themselves of being accused of something, and everybody around them assumes that accusation is true, but absolutely nobody knows what the accusation actually is. And in some cases, honestly even more insane cases, where there is a specific accusation.
I don't think this works anymore. I don't think what he's saying works anymore nowadays. Now they say that like the idiot stuff, and people just don't actually believe them, you know? Yeah. The only ones that believe on them are the law enforcers, the justice, the government. Because real people, real humans, people with sane brain cells, like even the average people don't eat this shit anymore, you know? No one is believing on that crap. So I think it worked for quite a long time, more than actually I thought like more than I actually expected it to work, to be honest. But I don't see it working right now. The only ones making it work, force it, downward troughs is the government. You know? Make all this shit that they say valid through laws, law enforcement, arresting people unfairly like the guy we saw nowadays. No, not nowadays, like today, you know? And things like that. Otherwise, if there is something that it's independent on the government, like just a woman say bullshit to a man or something like that, they just don't eat that out anymore. Like, they just don't.
Sometimes the word creepy will get used as the only evidence for that accusation. Like this right here, a man spends 31 days behind bars for a false grapes accusation, and the only evidence that he actually did anything.
Just 31 days. Oh, the man ended up, I think he said like the woman ended up like 31 days in jail. But no, it was the man actually.
As well as the only motive that she had for making this false accusation was that he was just quote-unquote lay creepy. And that was it. He was creepy, therefore he was guilty. 1 month in the slammer. And so one thing that particularly happens in either the dating scene or the bar scene that has been...
And now I ask you, how much of the percentage of the men in society do you think that woman like her think that's creepy, huh? You guys know the answer. You guys know the answer. They think you are creepy. They think all the men are creepy. Like 85% of the men, like the Holy Ball said, are creepy to them. So be careful, guys. Be careful when you go out there, you know? Be careful. You never know when the next woman will put on you in jail.
Been debated on the internet extensively is, of course, the devil effect and the halo effect, where people are more or less likely to be accused of being creepy, not based on any kind of objective behavior, but instead based entirely on how attractive they are or their perceived social value.
Pseudo-brains, nah, I just don't talk to them. Pseudo-brains in my country don't need to talk to us to be arrested.
For instance, in the basic context of a man asking a woman out on a date, as shown in this discussion right here on Purple Pill Debate. Some women tend to frame a failed approach as a moral failing on the guy's part that goes beyond a simple no thanks, but implies that he has effed up, socially, simply for the horrible crime of expressing interest, with a particularly good reply to this being, ugly is creepy. I've been fat and ugly and ripped and not ugly, and women treated me completely differently when I wasn't fat.
You see? Ugly is creepy, and to most women, all of you guys are creepy, you know? Because all of you guys are ugly. To majority of, like, women. You know? Yeah. So that's your answer. That's your answer.
Fat and ugly, even though I wasn't doing anything differently. And I've noticed I do the same thing myself. When an attractive girl checks me out, it's nice. Feels flattering, but when a fat girl checks me out, my instant reaction is to feel grossed out. And of course, there are many people who try to deny that creepiness, oftentimes simply
to 65% of the woman. To 65% of the woman, like 95% of the men are ugly and therefore creepy.
Just means ugly in the context of the dating scene. But there's a pretty good amount of data that proves that this is definitely a thing, which is kind of surprising actually that we have academic research.
No, I'm not telling you guys are ugly. I'm talking like that majority of women thinks that. And I mean, I'm not lying. I say the truth. Like, I think you guys all saw enough data about it already, right? So yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
That proves that the ugly is creepy camp is correct. Because ordinarily, when something goes against political correctness, it tends to not really get much funding, or a lot of the times universities won't even want to look into it, so the study just kind of never gets done. And so when you see cases like this, where you have research that goes against what you would normally expect from what you could call the cathedral, then you know it's almost certainly true. Because in our current cultural climate, the politically correct thing to do is, of course, listen and believe. Because the issue here at its root actually has absolutely really nothing nothing to do with the dating market at
His
all. But rather,
streamers
what
are
we're seeing is
faking
more of a
gay
major
Mizuki
flaw in
76.
social interaction that kind of evolved over time as cultures
Yeah.
around the world shifted from valuing honor and respect more to valuing victimhood. The whole dichotomy of people either being oppressors
This
or
shit
victims, which has the
faking
unfortunate
gay.
side effect of creating an avenue for a disingenuous individual to try and gain social clout by simply painting themselves as the victim. And this has widespread consequences for social interaction as a whole, because this overvaluing of the victim status has put us into a situation where we're kind of expected to magically know what other people are feeling, which makes social interactions very awkward. Everybody's walking around in a social situation with different rules and arbitrary ideas in their heads of how that social interaction should go, and a lot of people are just kind of assuming that everybody else knows or believes the same things that they know or believes on how those interactions should go. Ordinarily, this would not be an issue if we were living in a society where people still had some actual backbone and some thick skin. Because when people know not to get offended when someone steps over a boundary that they couldn't have possibly known was even there, then you can simply set the boundary audibly so that they know, and then it's not a big issue. The problem was we've kind of entered a low consciousness society where people again expect this kind of magic knowledge and are willing to completely freak out, or pretend to freak out just for the sake of getting victim points. And the result is that a lot of social interaction sucks these days, which can actually further incentivize people to just not bother with social interaction, or to just not play the game entirely. For example, back in college, and I'm actually older than people think I am, so this was 20 years ago, I recall this one time where there was a girl in one of my classes where we weren't close friends or anything, we were associates, we relatively got along, and apparently she had this massive crush on me, and yet she just didn't tell me. In fact, she dropped no hints whatsoever, or if she did, they weren't very good ones. But of course, I had my suspicions, but I decided to just not.
You see, I'm looking at you more than 2 seconds. You see how I'm messy with my hair, you know? Yeah, you should get those hints, guys. You should get those hints. You should understand that, you know? You should understand that.
Really bother. My mindset was just sort of, whatever. But part of the reason I didn't really go for it is simply because if you aren't absolutely sure of something like that, even back then in the early 2000s, social interactions were such that you could just make a fool of yourself if you were wrong. And the result of this is that later,
ironic, okay?
out of
Just
the
to be
blue,
clear.
she just started hating me one day because she wanted me to ask her out and I didn't, and she got all pissy about it. So perhaps I dodged a bullet. The point here is that this kind of state of taking unfalsifiable social accusations seriously has kind of resulted.
The thing is, men should be free to try any girl he's interested in, at least once. And the girl should just like refuse, and everything's good. The only thing I find terrible is the guy insisting after this. You know, you said no, you politely refuse the person, and the person needs to stop. You know, that's the thing. But I don't think like there is any problem in you come up and trying, you know? Because the thing is, women's finally is really terrible, you know? Like, they want to believe that they are doing their best when they are not. And if you do something much directly, you are seen as bitch, you know? As sluts. And even more like if we directly attempt something instead of the man, which is modern society is forcing us to do nowadays. So it's a lose-lose situation. 2 women doing that. So yeah, it's really something that men should be doing. And it was forcefully by idiot woman, idiot feminist woman, and government, you know, was forced over men to not do that anymore. More and more, it's happening. It keeps happening increasingly. So it is what it is. So yeah. The woman goes there and puts herself like in situations of being aborted, which usually are in places that are not much good. Because I mean, I wouldn't ever like go to nightclubs or wherever, you know. So, which are properly places like that. Or you put yourself like, even putting myself in the side like, of like being exposed in a public area is very difficult to me because I always I always stay in my home. Oh my god, that's great. But that's a particularity of mine. I don't think that's the problem for the majority. But yeah, and don't be a bitch. Don't be a bitch. That's it.
In this mind-reading paradox, where if you ask her out and you're wrong, you're a creeper, and if you don't ask her out and you're wrong, then you're a jerk. And so that's another issue. People kind of want to have it both ways. But another really big issue is how this causes problems with normal interactions that don't have anything to do with dating. I sometimes see the word creepy propping up in political discussions, usually as an accusation from the party that is losing the argument.
You are so mad right now. But feelings, incel, creepy, loser. I bet your parents would be proud. I have badly lost this argument. And now desperately trying to deflect from this fact by resorting to retarded emotional arguments, false accusations, and projection. Exactly. 100%.
And a really good example that I can use to wrap this video up to showcase what's really going on here is actually around the drama of the game I'm playing in the background right now. The Pragmata drama, where all men who want to play this game are just lay creepy, because they just are. They've made the accusation that men who want to play Pragmata are lay creepy, and therefore they have done something wrong. A particularly silly one is the drama between Hasanabi and Shuanhead right now.
Oh yeah. Like, oh, you like that little girl in Pragmata? You must be a pedo. Oh my god, no. You can't have fatherly things. Men don't know what that is. Men wanna rape everything that has a hole, right? Like, oh my god, just so disgusting. It is so freaking disgusting. I don't have patience with this bullshit. This bullshit anymore, really. Like, I don't. That's why I don't know how Leaflet does this. I really don't know how Leaflet does it. Like having PvP with everyone. I just can't anymore. I can't discuss with retarded. I just can't.
Yep, that's right. Some good old-fashioned leftist infighting. Oh, it's so creepy. And Shuanhead just kind of being strangely the voice of reason on this, explaining why that's kind of dumb. Which honestly isn't a difficult thing for her to do. Because what Hasanabi had to say is a very easy argument to refute. It's very, very dumb. All it is just interpreting something in the most bad faith way you possibly can.
Everything Hassan Piker does is dumb and stupid. But he himself and people behind him are too much powerful and rich. And we know that. And this is why he's able to keep saying all this stupidity and keep shocking his dog, you know? And whatever happens with Kaya that we never see like her around again. Like at least, like I don't watch him. But people tell me that Kaya's suit disappeared. I don't know.
That into an ambiguous accusation about social status, and that's it. That's the argument. Which is partially why I'm making this video. It's sad to see that people still, in the year 2026, still have not figured out the trick behind this unfalsifiable accusation and why it's not a good argument. People are just kind of throwing this subjective, ambiguous nonsense around, and they sincerely believe, they sincerely expect that what they're saying should be taken seriously, which is of course completely ridiculous because they're not actually saying anything. And the particular instance of the pragmatic drama saying that men are creepy for wanting to...
It doesn't matter. They don't see this. They don't say this stuff expecting the majority to believe on them. That will never happen, and they know that. They say this, so maybe, hopefully, the rulers of the world will do something of to make their problems disappear out of thin air, like I don't know. They expect like a government to take an attitude against their enemies and arrest them for some false accusation or bullshit like that. It's stuff like that. They repeat their bullshit like expecting people to be deleted somehow, to the person that she's against, like to die, to be murdered, like Charlie Kirk, for example, you know? And it's stuff like that. To people to be arrested unfairly by false accusations. This is what they want when they repeat this stuff like ad nauseum, you know?
Play a game that basically brings out the fatherhood instinct by having you look after this little android girl. It kind of shows how a lot of people really have some bizarre insecurities.
They don't need that. They don't need that.
They're basically just projecting.
They have the few powerful people in the world at their side. They don't need that. They don't need the majority of the people. The majority of the people is meaningless nowadays. It's meaningless.
They don't actually have a real argument. In fact, they've very much lost this argument, which actually gives us a hint of how we should be dealing with this, because the fortunate thing, the good news about this, is that the whole creepy word being used to spew ambiguous accusations, there's actually a very easy way that you can deal with it, even as an individual. And it goes back to something I said earlier. You see, back in the 1800s and early 1900s, we didn't have this victimhood culture. Rather, we had more of a culture about honor and respect. And so back then, when someone tried to throw an ambiguous accusation at somebody, you didn't really see the whole issue of a pathetic soy simp going, "Oh no, I must have done something to offend Her Majesty." No, they would do the exact opposite. They would look their false accuser straight in the eye and ask them if they're disrespecting them. Or in other words, they just simply refused to put up with bullshit and would immediately call it out for what it is. And so people didn't really try to use ambiguous accusations back then because it risked immediate backlash. And that's exactly the strategy you can take. As a final example, I'd recently dealt with one of these little Pop-Tarts myself on Zitter. I posted "Decades of Anti-Natalist Propaganda Destroyed," with a little video of Diana falling down a slide. Now, of course, any normal person views this as cute, because it is. But to the misandrist, it's creepy. And so what do? Simple. Call out the false accusation for what it is. And that's really it. There's no need to take these twats seriously. There's no need to ask them, "Oh, what did I do to offend you?" There's no need to do that. If someone disrespects you with some ambiguous bullocks, then, well, there's an age-old saying, claims presented without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. Someone too cowardly to specify their accusation should be assumed to be lying until proven otherwise. And that's how we should really be treating people who pull this crap, because it is exactly the same childish much ado about nothing as people.
No, I don't even answer that, you know? Sometimes I do, but only once or twice, and I stop there. Like, don't go further. It's useless, it's meaningless. Like, even you saying that, what you said, like, oh, like, this is subjective and blah, blah, blah. They will always have some whataboutism and some bullshit to say after whatever you say, whatever you can possibly say. There is no right answer. There is no right answer. These people are trained to complain. Even not having any reason at all in particular. Even it's not grounded on the reality or anything. Like, they are trained to complain. Complaining is their only, like, mastery that they have in life, like in their character status. The only mastery that they have is complaining. It's the only skill that they acquired, you know?
Believing that their state of being offended should be taken seriously. It's just that that has gone out of style, and so now these people are just using the word creepy to try and push the exact same entitled mindset. And so that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And to help support the continuation of my content, you can either tip me on Ko-Fi, subscribe to me on Subscribestar, or become a member of the channel. Or of course, if you want some cool swag in return.
Nah, all little shits. Fucking little shits. Yeah, that's it. Say that. Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's actually a nice idea you guys gave, yeah. Of course, let's go. Before we go any further, I want to take this brief moment here to thank all of you, my patrons, for the incredible support to my work here on YouTube, and especially my 5-Tail Fox tier member, The Holy Ball, and all of my 3-Tail Fox tier members, Wallony Wolf, Fanny Sylvie, Hit Himself, Zalost, Eustace the Useful, Zealous Isaiah, Mr. NER Eden, Max Tenor, Nugutino, Avery, TBCI, and TV8. Thank you very, very much. You guys are amazing. Also, thanks to everyone that have been supporting me on Ko-Fi, Kick, and to all of my YouTube members. You can support this channel life and growth with just $5 a month and gain access to many perks. This is less than a burrito. Check out my Patreon. Link is in the description below. And that's it for today, my dear Foxlings. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.